It's that time of the week again, time for another special bonus episode of the Paul Ryder tapes. It's a really, really special one this week, featuring probably the only woman in the world who could have immersed herself into the Madchester Mondays mayhem, played such a pivotal role in their success and come out unscathed. I've known her for more than 20 years and I'm really proud to call her a friend. She's got one of the most powerful and soulful voices in the whole wide world, and she also happens to be a really lovely woman with a wicked playful side. It's the siren of song, the delicious diva with the velveteen vocal chords that is the lovely Rowetta. I've told you what all this is about, haven't I?
I don't know, not much. I know Paul was doing a podcast and then he completed it, more or less. And so this is just adding people onto that.
Yeah, so basically the idea was he was going to write a book and I knew he'd never get round to it. And I did a dating podcast that I played him because I was talking about him and he thought it was really good. And then from that, it was like, why don't we do a podcast and you talk your book? And then we'll give the transcripts of the podcast and make it into a book. So it'll be your words, but you don't have to write it.
I've been doing the same thing myself, so yeah, brilliant.
He came over to the house religiously every Sunday. The whole point of doing this for him was to correct the lies. You know, all the shit that's been talked about the Mondays, all the falsehoods that have been peddled, just to set the record straight, really. And he also wanted to help other people by talking about his addiction issues and everything. And so what I've done is I've gone through all the transcripts of everything and I've picked out all the bits where you're mentioned a lot, obviously. So let's just start off by telling me about the very first time you ever met Paul.
Probably the first time I met him would have been in the office, because I used to hang around the Happy Mondays office all the time after seeing them on the other side of midnight and deciding I'm going to join this band. It was Tony Wilson's show. They did performance and I decided that's the band for me because I'm a punk. And so the first time I saw him on TV would have been on the other side of midnight doing performance. And then the first time I'll have seen him, met him, would have been in the office because I was there all the time. Simply Red's manager had the office next door. They managed me, Elliot Rashman. So I was always in the Mondays office trying to get this role that wasn't created yet as the girl from the Mondays because I loved T-Rex and I wanted to be that girl to do something like that with the Mondays. So I got along enough, like you say, higher and everything with Paul. He'd walk in the office probably asking for money or sorting out stuff with Nathan, and that office, it was the management office, but didn't get to know him really well until we started recording, really. Would have been when we did Step On. So I invited Nathan to come and watch me at a gig opposite in Legends where they filmed Rope for Luck. And so Nathan came to see me and said yes a couple of weeks later. So I went to record it, Step On, in Eden in Chiswick, and did my vocals. And then it wasn't that day because I think they were still in Spain, in Sitges, where they filmed the Step On video with the big E sign. So it wasn't then that I'd met the whole band. It was maybe just a couple of weeks later when we were doing a gig at GMEX, and that's the first time I properly met Paul. And he was talking to me and he told me, because I had no room at the Midland and other people had rooms at the Midland Hotel, because I lived in Manchester, I hadn't got my own room. So he told me that if I go up to this room, Ian Brown will be coming to meet me. And he lied. And I went, "Where's Ian?" And he's like, "No, it was just a lie to get me to go to the room." Nothing happened, but yeah. So that's the first thing I really remember with Paul, that and I was waiting about an hour for Ian Brown to come. I didn't even fancy Ian Brown, I just wondered what he wanted. Told Ian this actually at Paul's funeral, because Ian didn't know, but it was quite funny. But actually back then, and I didn't really look at the lads like that, but it was like probably when you look at the pictures, it was a really good looking one. If you look at the pictures but we just got on from day one. Just really did, because after that we recorded the album and we more or less lived together, recording at Eden in Chiswick. We lived in apartments across the road from the studio and we just hung round together all the time. We ate together, stayed up together, drank together, everything. The ones who did drugs together. But yeah, we were there. Probably why. Actually, we didn't really argue. It was more laughter then and funny banter arguments. There were arguments, but it didn't feel serious then. It felt like it was just, we just laughed all the time. And yeah, you did, like I say, the arguments got worse later on, especially between the brothers. But back then, it didn't feel to me like anything serious. It was all fun and games, really. And just, you don't realise with Shaun, though, you never realised he was getting at someone until it was about you, I think. But back then, I don't think it was that bad right at the beginning. I think everybody seemed to get along. I remember a fight in Nathan's office with Shaun and Paul. I think they'd gone outside, saying outside. And I remember Shaun had said, "You've got blood on my shirt." When they came back in, there was blood all over Shaun's shirt. And instead of saying, "You beat me up," or you punched me, "You've got blood all over my shirt." I do remember that. But yeah, they'd gone outside to have a proper fist fight, but I didn't obviously see it. I just remember Shaun saying about the blood.
I remember in the very early days, we were in Birmingham and a fight, we were filming, I can't remember what even we were filming for. We never used the footage, but I was there filming and there was a fight in the room and you were really protective of them. You were like, "You've got to get out now. You can't film this. You can't film this."
I'm still like that now. I still would be now. I can't bear it. It's even worse now. Imagine with everyone with camera phones. I hate it. So yeah, I'm worse now. But back then, yeah, I've always been like that. I don't like, but especially if you're girls. If you're a girl, you shouldn't be in there anyway. No, because girls are the ones who tell stories and take photos quite often. The lads are usually taking our booze. Girls are normally gossipy, and lads can be as well, but it doesn't seem to get around, and lie spreads. I've seen journalists do it with Steve Coogan and coming in the room, and so I really, really hate it. And I do remember when he first met you, and I wasn't there, but in Iceland, I think it was. Wasn't it? And he came back and he said he'd really fallen for this girl. It was like, because he was really wanting a girlfriend. And I don't think he thought he'd get a girlfriend like you don't. But I just don't think he did think he'd get one because his marriage is split up and everything. And I remember him being really besotted with you when he came back. They'd met this girl who worked for MTV. And I remember me and Shaun came and stayed at your house actually in Islington.
So Iceland that was when he was still with Alison. I think you're talking about 1999 when we'd got back together again after 9 years.
I will have been. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Well, whenever you got with him, that's when he said he was besotted and he'd met you in Iceland. And he was saying, "Did I remember you?" And I said I wasn't in Iceland. He thought I was. But I loved you straight away. He just said he was really besotted with you, though. It was really lovely.
I had no idea what I was letting myself in for.
Exactly. Well, it was good for a long time, so.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
But the best thing is, by the end, we were really good.
You know, he wouldn't have been able to move out. He loved it in LA and he wouldn't have been able to move over there without you. So.
No.
Or got off the drugs, eventually, which it took a while. It took a lot of relapses, I know, but he got there in the end.
He did get there in the end. Yeah, it was a real struggle, and you were at the sharp end of that. Did it bother you when you would see him relapse?
Well, quite often he'd ring me and borrow the money off me because he couldn't get it off you. He couldn't get any money because you'd find out about it. So he'd have to borrow £50. And he was to be honest, he was quite honest about it because it would be, can you bring it to Moss side? And it's just because, and I'm out of order for letting him. I didn't realise he was completely off it though. I didn't realise how bad a problem he had because he was quite sneaky in saying how addicted he was or what he was addicted to. I mean, everyone didn't know I knew he was on heroin. I've been out with scored with him getting heroin. So I knew that he took heroin, but other people didn't. Other people would think it was coke because he'd be arguing with Shaun about which one's worse, heroin or coke, and meanwhile he's on both, really was. But people wouldn't know that he took a bit of everything.
But also, unlike usual heroin addicts, when he had heroin, it'd wake him up and make him all speedy, like it was coke.
Absolutely, same with Shaun, really. It must be a Ryder thing. But yeah, sometimes it depends on the ones because sometimes they would be there in the sofas. Gouching, as they called it. And then I honestly think the last time that he borrowed money from me in Moss side, I think that was crack. I really do. I didn't know at the time that he was on crack, and it's only afterwards when he wanted more and it was quite obvious he'd been sold something wrong. That wasn't really, quite often they sell wax and stuff. So I remember that. But I'd gone and given him 50 quid, so I'm guilty of that really. But I just didn't think he had a problem. He's very good at lying. It was very, very good. When it came to drugs, he was very good at lying. Even to me, and it's like, there's quite a few of them can. The others didn't have to lie to me, and I'd just say no. But he was like, oh, as if I haven't got a problem with that, and can you, da, da, da. And Angela knows he'd say something like that. And
Yeah, right.
and I'm not going to ring and say, Angela, can you have, you're not his mum. So, but yeah, it's only happened a couple of times, but I did, and then I thought, shit. And then the next thing I heard after the last time, he was in rehab again. It was a proper problem. Or, you were having problems. I didn't realise. So I felt really bad then. I think you rang me as well about that one, but I didn't know much because, as I say, he kept a lot quiet. And because I was friends with you as well, he wouldn't have told me everything. But I've got eyes and ears.
So when you realised he had a problem, how did you feel about that?
Well, everybody had problems in our band, really. So it's just normal. I'd be more surprised if they didn't have problems. But with the drug problem, I still didn't realise what his main drug was, because I would have thought the one we saw him taking the most would have been cocaine. And then it's only because, as I said, I've been out to school with him in King's Cross, and I know heroin was a problem as well, because it was a problem for both him and Shaun. Went to school with Shaun, and then I had to go with Horse, just so that they could get it off these black guys, I think. So look, they didn't want to go on their own, and we didn't have any security by then. But I really didn't know how bad his problem was. Even in the later years, I thought it was on something. I thought even if it's bipolar medication, the way he takes things, the way he drank Red Bull, the way he did everything, the way he smoked cigarettes, it was all really like an addict. It was just, and I didn't know what was harming him. But not this tour, but definitely another tour, he seemed to be sleeping all the time. And he wasn't the same person, and quite grumpy as well, which he's never been. He's usually very laid back with the whatever medication he's on. But he seemed grumpy, snappy, but yeah, just sleeping. And then in the middle of the night, waking up after a gig and it's hungry because he's not eaten all day. So it's not normal, but it's normal for us because that's, it's the life when you're on tour that you can be like that. You can not eat in the day, or because you're nervous or whatever. But yeah, he slept far too much the first time. It started to be, though, the most normal ever. Normal hours, dead perky, getting up first things, go to TK Maxx, wherever we were, everywhere. As soon as he saw a sign, sometimes it was a red sign in industrial estate and it wasn't TK Maxx, he'd be gutted from far away. He's like, there's one. But I used to go with him, but then I realised I was spending too much money on shit that I don't need, because we always used to go to TK Maxx. In 99 we would have done. But yeah, this time around, he was still doing that. He still loved TK Maxx. But he did say he'd lost a lot of his clothes though in a fire, so I just thought,
he used to hide his stuff in the back of his car. He'd go shopping and hide the stuff in the car because he didn't want me to see.
I would say to us, it's for Angela, or it's for his last girlfriend. He'd always say it's for someone else, and it just wasn't. It was almost always for him. Sometimes he'd get you a gift or the kids, but it was nearly always for him, to be honest, because he was addicted to shopping for jackets and shoes, especially because we used to go to a place called Brunswick where shoes were half price. And there was one near me and there was one in Regent Road, and nobody really knew about it. And we'd spend hundreds of pounds on millions of shoes, because sometimes they were £8 for a pair of shoes. And he liked his Converse, and we had a guy giving us Converse Kev. So yeah, we did, but we did just have loads of shoes and coats, especially Horse used to love his coats, didn't he? His leathers and stuff. And a lot of them, they just look the same.
And whenever he did a gig, he always had to get a new jacket.
I agree with that, but they can't tell because they look the same, most of them. Like a navy blue leather jacket looks like a navy blue, and his Converse always look the same. But and smell it, loads of aftershave.
It was a bit much sometimes though, the aftershave.
Yeah, well, sometimes I know from Shaun, sometimes because they've not really had a bath or a shower. When you're on drugs, you don't, or it's to cover up something. But there was so much of it. I mean, before, not towards the end, obviously it wasn't like that, but when he was addicted, I know you're just getting up and going for your drugs, but they always smell great.
So did you go to LA when they recorded Pills and Thrills? You were part of that then?
Yeah, no, I did Step On and everything from then. It was all done at Eden Chiswick. LA, I think they only did, they must have put down the roots to some of the tunes, but it was mainly Step On and Tokolosh Man that I came in to do. Yeah, I came on to do those, but that was in England and I wasn't in the band yet. So when they were in LA doing Pills and Thrills, it wasn't called Pills and Thrills yet. It wasn't an album yet. Thought they were recording Tokolosh Man and Step On. So I came and did them. Most of the writing of all the other tunes was done at Eden in Chiswick with Steve Osborne. Sometimes I think it sounds more romantic to say it was all done in LA, and I know they're off it, but I just remember there wasn't when I got there, there weren't loads of songs ready. You know, they were being written as we were there. We were there for weeks and weeks as well. So it was great.
Did you go to Barbados?
No, I didn't. I'd just gone to and joined Perfecto, Paul Oakenfold's label. So I had to make it, and Tina and Chris were recording there. So no, I think I'm lucky I didn't go to Barbados. And then I think Nathan said they were thinking of getting Debbie Harry. So I said, I'm joining back again. I'm not plundering. Imagine Debbie Harry replacing me because Tina Francis friends with her. I didn't care who replaced me if they needed a girl, but not Debbie Harry. I fucking love Debbie Harry. So I was like, no. So then all of a sudden, my label, my record deal can fuck off. I'm going to Barbados. Just call me when you need me. And then Shaun obviously wasn't doing any vocals. I was getting sent somebody came back and played me. I don't know if it was on a cassette or what he'd done. And it was just horrible. It was vile shouting about, I think it was Bez's missus at the time. It wasn't nice and it wasn't tuneful. It wasn't any good. And apparently that's the only vocals. They hadn't got much vocals at all, just ranting. So, yeah, so they said you probably will be needed, but Shaun, they were telling me what happened with the heroin and stuff, and he wasn't able to write on crack. So we did all our bits. It's Lingfield in Surrey, which was brilliant. And Horse came there, and he came. Nobody from the band really came. They weren't allowed because Shaun had to get his head down and get the vocals done. So Tony Wilson came for a day. Nathan came just for a day, I think, and then it was just me and Shaun. And Paul came for about 4 days, probably with Estrella. I remember I remember him coming with Estrella and he'd got a tattoo of a little star. And I was like, well, that's not going to last. Told him that the minute you get a tattoo, it's over.
He never told me the star was for Estrella. Of course it would be. He tattooed, when he traded in his wedding ring for crack, so he tattooed my name on his wedding finger.
And you weren't still together after that?
But then when he got with Lena, it became a black band and then he has Lena written above it. I mean, I laughed when I saw it. Can you remember when he left the band just after we had Sonny, just when you were about to support Oasis?
He missed Glastonbury as well, didn't he? He must have done. Yeah, I didn't know why he'd left, what he'd left for. I don't remember what went on there. I really don't remember him leaving. I can't remember what happened. Do you remember what happened when he left?
He just decided to leave because Shaun was winding him up and he said, I know I'll relapse if I go, but he relapsed anyway. There
were always arguments back at that point. In 99, when we'd done the tour, there were just always horrible arguments, horrible things being said while we were on stage. It wasn't a nice place to be in our band, I didn't think, 99 really. I mean, I left in 2000. We all left because of arguments with Shaun. I think even Bez left eventually for a while. But it was just, I just remember it not being a nice place. So probably during rehearsals, it was just bad. It was, it's the comments, as I say, you don't hear them. I've heard him since on videos where he says things under his breath about divorce, and Shaun would say things under his breath and you don't realise until it's about you. And then when he started saying things to me, I realised what he does. And he says the same thing every night at the same time and it gets to you. And that's what he was doing with Horse. He would say something about divorce and you don't hear the rest of what he said. And I was like, this isn't fair because Horse hasn't got a microphone. I just remember seeing it and going, wow, when you listen, because I'm busy singing and on my side of the stage, when you hear him saying it and you think, I think Horse told me where to listen to it for, that it was on Kinky Afro, for me to know. And you go, shit. And he actually looks and does it. But you don't realise if it's not to you. And he did, I mean, he still did it towards the end, Shaun, when he's, but now Horse completely was able to just ignore it in a different way, like not let him get to him. Or if he did, just not react to it and, because it's not worth it.
Why do you think he does that, though, Shaun? What's he trying to do?
I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes it's funny. He thinks it's funny. And it is funny. Sometimes Horse will laugh at what he's doing and laugh at him. Yeah. Like the big arm thing. He kept saying big arm all the time. And it starts to be annoying and grating. Go on, big arm. And his voice starts to annoy you when you're not getting on with him. And but yeah, it's just like, don't let anybody. I remember I've gone over to Horse, so he's got a microphone, got a voice if he wants to say something. When he said, so that was, but not really recently, because we have been getting along. That was more like 2012 time, because he started again, and I just thought, this time I can go to Joanne and tell her. So I started to tell Joanne, and Joanne can sort it out. Joanne can nip it in the bud and tell him, stop saying things to Horse, to Rowetta, you won't have a band again. It will go like that again. So in order for, I'm still going 10 years after we reformed, but it would have split up if it had carried on all that nonsense, because it is nasty. And the reason is, Shaun is twisted, but he's just a bit nasty sometimes.
Do you think, though, that the tension between them added to the magic of the band?
I think obviously the audience enjoy it when they have when Shaun's ranting and the arguments. I think it could have well done without it. There was no need. They're all characters anyway. We all are. Everybody's a little bit bipolar or whatever. Everybody gets labelled now, definitely, whether ADHD or bipolar or anything. We've all got definite mental problems of some kind. And the way we've been brought up hasn't helped, probably. And the lifestyles we've been allowed to lead hasn't helped. And I think it's all that. So we didn't need any arguments amongst us as well. Because on the rare occasions where the audience did see the difference between Shaun just having a laugh and ranting, because most of them can't understand what he's saying. If you're in a different city even than Manchester, you don't understand a lot of what Shaun is saying anyway. But it was more, it could have done without it, because it was more the anger on stage. It's the tension. You'd only feel it when you were on stage, really. Horse just looked moody and hardly ever smiled. People always used to say to me, "You've got Horse smiling," even more recently. And I went, he smiles all the time, but not for pictures and not on stage. He doesn't smile loads. Any pictures of him smiling, I always used to post because he liked the pictures of him smiling. And I go on, smile for Facebook or for Instagram, and he would with his kids, with his bass. But I don't think they needed the rest of it. They're not the same. It wasn't the same as Oasis. I thought it was in a way more intense, more dark than the Oasis brothers, which is very open, where they're always slagging each other off in the press. They didn't do that, really. It was, nobody understood really what the problem was or why they didn't get on, or if they didn't get on, really. And then when Chico was ill, Shaun is very family, he came in, or when they were looking for a new manager, they got together. And so I don't know, it was, I don't know. I think there is love there. It's just, I don't know, with Shaun. Shaun's just an odd one. Doesn't talk about him as a bass player. I've not heard him speak about him as musicians or anything. But he's obviously thought Horse was good, because if he didn't, he'd be saying, "You shit," like he's done with other members of the band. "Slow down," and all this. And, his praise used to mainly go to Mark on stage, to Moose, who's harmless. And I think that's part of the reason, because everybody in the band's great. But they're all special and all fantastic for this. But, without them, it is different. You can get people copying Horse, but it's not the same. But poor guy, who I didn't speak to for ages. but I'm talking to him now because I feel it's not fair. But otherwise, we couldn't go on. No, we couldn't go on. And it is celebrating the music of the Mondays. So, and it's good for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, Paul can't be there, can he?
No, I know. But at the beginning, the poor lad is in the corner. He's going, he was terrified. And I said, "What's wrong with you?" And he went, "The first time you met me, you weren't very nice to me." I said, that was before. He just replaced Paul for 2 gigs years ago. And apparently I didn't speak to him then. I was, shut up, dick. That's why you shouldn't be in the band, really. If you can't handle me not talking to you, because I'm probably on a period. It's probably got nothing to do with you. But now he's grown a pair of balls. He's not frightened anymore. And he can look at me in rehearsals. I'm allowing him to.
Did you go to the recording of The Boys Are Back in Town?
Yeah, of course.
Do you remember any events there?
Yes, I do. And I also remember as well, because I left my cigs in the hut pit where I think we had something to eat, went back into the studio, and I went back to go and get my cigs, and I stepped into they call it a pond, but it was a lake. It was a lake that I thought was a path, and my leather jacket that I'd got when I was with Horse in a TK Maxx type shop got drowned full of duck shit. And what else happened there? Because it wasn't great. Oh, I remember because turned up and he robbed Paul Oakenfold's credit card, but it was on CCTV. So that then Paul Oaken was going, "The vibe's gone, the vibe," and it had. The vibe had gone. Can't blame it on why the record wasn't brilliant. I did enjoy the dirty version where Shaun just ranting. "You get 10 fucking goals and I get one," because he's a drummer. You get bum, tit, and he gets loads. "Play the Willy Banjo." There's a really brilliant thing. But I don't think the record was great or anything. But
I loved that record. I thought it was great.
And as well, because when we did Top of the Pops, it was terrible because we did it live, which I don't think for Top of the Pops. We thought it was a rehearsal, and because it was so bad, the rehearsal, and with nuts in as well, it wasn't very good. But because it was a rehearsal and everyone wasn't really trying very hard. It was just messy and they kept it in. The new producer at Top of the Pops thought it'd be cool to just do this, everyone going wrong, everyone coming in at the wrong time. And if you watch it now, it's just awful. It's just horrible. So I think that was a problem. And I always thought the dirty version was more Happy Mondays. The other version sounds a bit novelty. Guess who's just come back to... It's a bit novelty. The boys, but we did it on TFI Friday, who did it well. It was just, I thought Shaun's was a little bit novelty. Shaun's, I like the dirty version, as I said, but it was just down the Reno, smoke and chill, yeah. That was a little bit too, I don't know. I just thought we could have done it more dirty, more messy, more rocky, more punky. Yeah. It was a little bit too pop, and I think it had gone from step on to really pop. It had gone really poppy, like Busted. It was a bit too, not Busted, but one of them kind of bands.
So you and Paul were both in the film 24-Hour Party People.
Yeah.
Have you got any memories of you and him around that time period?
Yeah, because they were going to allow Shaun to be in it and Bez. Bez could play himself. And the horse, they discovered Michael Winterbottom was so blown away by his acting. He just said he really plays sinister well to play this secure, what are you going to call them, but the gangsters really, who ran the door. And he was really impressed with his acting. And then we went to, because Paul Popplewell couldn't really play the bass well, and some of the others could play. So Paul played his own bass with the baggy undies, we called them, or crappy undies, whatever we called them. So we did, I think we did the rap party at the Astoria. We did one at the Astoria. We did a diesel party at Fabric. And we did Cannes Film Festival, which is incredible, really, to play when it was up for a Palme d'Or. I think that was, and there was a lot of pride there. Tony Wilson was with us as well at that Cannes, and we went to the press conference. I don't think, we were on the panel, but we didn't really say much, myself and Horse. It was really for the lads to shine, the actors anyway, and Steve Coogan, obviously, and Tony Wilson was there. So it was just a lovely time.
I think that was really good for Paul as well, to do some acting.
Absolutely. And because Michael Winterbottom really, he said he's just a natural. He was really impressed. So I think that, and he said it to him. And so he was really glad, really, that, because I think he was asking Shaun and Bez more, like, it's so easy to ask them. So it was I just remember saying, I'd spoken to Michael Winterbottom and he was asking me about doing research and locations, I think we were doing. So then Chris Cogwell wanted to play Bez. So I said, come and meet me at this Nuts it was called, and I'll get Michael to be there and see me dancing with Bez, Chris Cogwell, and he'll see. And then I'll get you to meet Bez, Chris, so Bez doesn't knock you out for playing him. And and then it was just, I just said, can I play myself to Michael? And he's like, yeah. And then he was asking if any of the others would want to be in it. And and Paul was dead interested in being in it. So I don't know how the first meeting with Michael went, but I do remember Michael asking, would any of the others be in it? Because he said, tell Bez if he's really against it, he can play himself. And which I thought was really, rather than not have the Mondays in the film, not have Bez in the film. Bez was very much, I don't want anything to do with it. He didn't want anyone to play him, which would have put a spanner in the works of anyone playing Shaun, really, because you can't really have no Bez. They would have had to really make the Happy Mondays thing a lot smaller, a thing, and have Bez not speaking. So I think it worked really, really well. And he was brilliant at it. So it, like I say, Michael was like, he was natural. Well, I mean, obviously my acting was just as good because I was playing myself. I'm just playing myself, so you don't have to act it.
Brilliant. Do you remember recording at our house with Pete Smith?
Party People music, because we did it. We ended up being on the website because we didn't know New Order were doing the theme tune, the soundtrack. So we were hoping to have it as the theme tune or coming out the back, but New Order did a tune, so we had no chance. But yeah, I do. I actually put it up on a video when he passed because I have it on my SoundCloud. I've always had it on my SoundCloud, so I put it up with some pictures of him because because he's singing on it as well. And I also did backing vocals on one of the tunes. I can't remember what the song was called though, on his Big Arm album. They were lovely. I did them, I think, maybe for two or three songs, but one of them especially was gorgeous, and I think my vocals stayed on it. It's lovely.
Okay, 2012. So you'd broken up, and then 2012, we found out about the whole band was getting back together with the original lineup when there was an article in The Sun that somebody sent to me and said, oh, look at this. Did you find out about it the same way?
No, I don't think so. It's after the Roses had got back together, obviously really successfully selling tickets within record times and stuff. And then I think somebody rang me, and I think I was saying, I might have heard rumours, and so I don't know. I don't read The Sun, so I don't know. But I might have heard rumours first. I just remember getting a phone call or me phoning PD after here and going, I'm not going to this meeting, no intention of going to this. We've all got to meet together. I'd only go because I just thought PD won't do it. I didn't think, so I must have spoken to people just to ask if they'd do it. I don't remember where I first heard it. I thought it was from one of the band. I did get a phone call at some point. I just don't remember the order, to be honest, of who rang, who told me. I just was like, I don't know if I can come to any meeting. What, they're all going? That's what I was like, they're all going. So, yeah. So I think it was in the evening news, though. I remember seeing it in the paper because, as I say, I won't buy The Sun.
So do you remember that? I remember Paul having to go to the Lowry for a photo shoot, and that was the first time everyone had been together in a long time. Do you remember that day?
Yeah, that's the day I remember, because I wouldn't get out of the car, and I was saying, if PD's in, I didn't believe PD would go in the building. There's no way. And he went. He was already in there. So I was just waiting outside, making sure that everybody was there. I didn't want to go in and it not be the full lineup, because I didn't know it was promised they were all going to be there. I just didn't believe it. I think maybe Joanne Ryder had messaged me, I don't know, as well, and said they're all going to be there. But yeah, once I knew PD was the one, I just didn't think they'd get him in. I just didn't. As I'd gone round with him over the years, I've seen him over the years. But yeah, so I was really pleased that they were all in there when I got in anyway. I think I might have been the last one, or somebody was outside having a cig, but they were all definitely around.
So were you the last one?
I was definitely the last one to go in, but somebody might come in after me who's gone for a cig. I could see them all. When I walked in, I was like, oh, they are all here. I was really happy. It's like, they're all here. Because I knew Bez was going to go in. I knew everybody was going to go in. Honestly, I think it was PD. I just didn't believe he'd go in. And he said he was already there. Because I got his number. I don't think I'd have had the others' numbers.
Had you been in touch with Paul over the years? Like, you'd not fallen out?
Not at all. It's just because I'm in LA, because I did Celebrity Rehab as well in 2009. So I did have his email before I had the others. Because we did 24-hour party people. I've kept in contact with Paul more than the others, because 24-hour party people would have been 2002, Rehab 2009. So, and then 3 years later we've reformed. So in a way, yeah, I don't know whether I was in touch after. Oh, because he went in rehab again when I went to do Celebrity Rehab. He was in one in San Diego down the road. I thought he was completely off everything. I thought the whole point of going to LA was to be off everything. So I couldn't believe it that he said, I'm at one, he was going to an AA meeting. I ended up going to an AA meeting, but he wasn't there, I don't think, at the one I was going to, but he was in rehab. Right. So yeah, that might have been the last time I spoke to him, but I can't remember.
And how did you feel seeing him again? Had he changed? Was he the same as he was before? He
was always the same with me. He's lovely, laid back. It just depended how many tablets he'd had or what drugs he'd had. For Paul, always, even towards the end. But towards the end, he was definitely seemed to be clearer-headed and everything. But as I said, in that 2012 period, I don't know if I noticed at that first meeting, but certainly the first tour, I didn't think he just wasn't as wide awake all the time, because he was on different medications. And sometimes he'd be all right, sometimes he wouldn't. And I don't remember which tours he wasn't, but I do remember he was just the sleeping. And it was just, and the Red Bull, it's loads of Red Bulls, loads of eating sweets, and loads of his medication.
Did you see Ronnie Biggs with them?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we had the best time rocking, because the guitars didn't turn up on time, so we ended up getting an extra couple of days. But yeah, it was a day out with Ronnie Biggs at Ronnie Biggs' house. It was fantastic. And yeah, Bez was making the burgers, is what Piers Morgan says, and spiked him. So that's what Piers Morgan says. He was dancing like a hippie something for hours, 8 hours.
What, he thinks Bez spiked him?
He said, I don't know what Bez puts in those burgers, but I was dancing like a something for 8 hours. I don't remember Bez being in charge of any burgers. I don't think anybody was hungry.
That whole thing was orchestrated, wasn't it?
Piers Morgan did the bizarre column at the time in The Sun. So The Sun took us over. It was saying, even though we were going over for Rock in Rio, he took us to Ronnie Biggs' house for the day. And it was brilliant. In Brazil, I think they went to the beach there, but I didn't go to that. As I said, I don't know if Horse did. So No, £5 a gram though, the coat was. It was very strong. So we were all struggling to get it down us. Slash was in the pool. Bez had to get $50 off me to get rid of his girl. She wouldn't leave the day after. He said, I'll buy you a handbag. I was like, I don't want a handbag. He's like, you had to try and get rid of his. But as I say, I can't remember with us, but ours would have been sneaky if he did do anything. It's only Shaun really who flaunted when he was with a woman or a prostitute. The rest of them didn't really.
Okay. Are there any other stories any funny stories to do with Paul that you like to talk about?
Yeah, no, he's just been a good friend and I miss him, obviously. Yeah, as I say, it's more like family. And, we can pull our faces at some of our behaviours sometimes, but he never did anything really wrong to me in any way, and I didn't to him, and we never had a big fallout or anything. He could look disapprovingly at me and I'd try and change a bit, but I've looked disapprovingly at him as well, and said that's out of order, sometimes over you in the past, as you know, or over drugs when I've known, but not enough to fall out ever, because it's just deep down he's a good person. I know that. I think sometimes you might have told porcupines. I think it's part of it's in their
the DNA.
Definitely. I don't like to say it, but it is, because honestly, sometimes you're really not sure which one's bending the truth. Because I know how good he was lying about drugs, and you don't know it sometimes. Because the thing is, I know he knows. I know he knows the truth. That's what I used to think. I know he knows what's about. He remembers stories from way back. He remembers details about things. And I go, how the fuck do you remember that? He'll remember what I was wearing in Brazil in at Rock in Rio on a certain day. He'll remember somebody walking in and you're like, how can you, because he was on drugs as well. And you're like, how can you remember that? He remembers conversations from 1991. And I just think that's bizarre. But he does, he remembers a lot and remembers the names of stuff, the names of places. And so, yeah, he's got one of those memories. So if he's saying something that's not true, it's because he wants to.
So the day that you found out that he died, how did that affect you?
I think the bus was coming for me at 12 o'clock and they were picking me up first because we're going to Sunderland. So usually I'd be picked up last because we're getting on the motorway to go down south. But because we're going up, they were picking me up first. So I think the driver was was there a bit early, maybe 10 to 12. I was picking me up at 12 and I think he was only around the corner. And I got the phone call from Mark Dane. So we're just waiting for I always lock up and wait outside and then go, right, I've got my shoes, my this, my that, and I got the phone call from Mark Day just as I was leaving my house, just open it to lock up. And I thought he was joking. Horses did, because it was Mark Day saying, Ro, got some really bad news. Horses dead. I think he was just said like that and it just didn't seem, obviously you don't think, because we're about to get on the bus. And then it really became quickly, it was obvious it wasn't a joke. That's it.
Did you go over to the house?
I did, yeah. Went to Linda's, just sat for ages. I spoke to Bez. I was like, I don't know if I can drive. I've got to drive. Because obviously I'm just in shock. Oh, I had to go. I just wanted to be with, because they said he's still there. Mark rang me again and said he was still there, and I said, oh, because Shaun was saying we should still do the gig at some point as well. And I was like, I can't even get on the bus. I sit opposite him or next to him. He's either there in front of me with his back to me or facing me on all the journeys on our bus. I can't. There's either a table between us or a chair back. I can't travel anywhere today without him being there. It's just impossible. But I didn't say that to Shaun. I was saying to people who were ringing, asking, could you do the gig? Shaun wants to do the gig, which is just mad. I didn't understand that. And he was having a go at Mark Day. It's not up to you, it's up to her, talking about his mum when I got there. So I'm just going, I'll do what everybody else wants to do, at this point, because he was saying it's up to Linda. So I didn't know what was going on. And I was like, we can't do it, flipping heck. So that's probably within an hour of me getting the message from Mark and trying to find out what had happened. But knowing he's still there, and I was actually hoping his body wouldn't still be there, to be honest, because I just didn't want to see a body. But Amelia told me to go in and say goodbye to her dad, and I really didn't want to see. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. His face looked bloated. He looked still alive. I spoke to him. I was in and out as quick as I could be. I just said, I love you and everything. But he did look like he was still alive. just only a bit bloated, but he just looked like he was asleep, really. So it wasn't as bad. I thought it was going to be a lot worse. I thought it was going to be a lot worse to see him. But as I say, because then you'll stick in your head forever, won't it? But he didn't look dead. So that really helped. And I wanted to get out before he did start to look dead. But yeah, I didn't really want to go in, but I love Amelia. I wouldn't have, and it seemed like we've got to go and say goodbye. But yeah, I just never fancied looking at seeing a dead body, because I thought, I know it's supposed to stick with you. As I say, actually, it wasn't. The ones I've seen before have been worse, because they've had tubes coming out of them or something. But it's just, and I'm glad I did now, because it makes it real then as well, because you have to know it's real. Otherwise, because we did sing in a couple of weeks later, and you just have to accept it's happened. You've got to, and he's not coming back. Otherwise, you go mad, really. But yeah, it was lovely going there that day, though, and being with everyone, being with his mum anyway. It was nice, and Shaun was being really nice, and I'll look after you to Linda and stuff, Joe and that. It's horrible. It still is. But in a way, I'm glad he went quickly. That's the only good thing you can say. Last time I played with him, he wasn't ill. He was happy. He seemed to be fine. He did. He seems to be happy with his kids, happy with everything now, and grandchildren. So in a way, that's all, because you've got to look at the good things.
Can you talk about the funeral?
Just a blur. It's the first time I left my cases in the dressing room the gig the night before the funeral, with everything in, and where I was staying, you needed a code. I left my phone in the dressing room, so I couldn't get everything till the actual funeral. That's when I saw you, and I don't know if I'd just been reunited with my things, but I had a code in my phone to get into the hotel I'd booked for the funeral for around the corner. It just all went wrong, but it wasn't like a sign from horse. It was a mess. It was like, I've got no makeup, I've got nowhere to stay. I had to stay with some driver that I've never met before, and and so I couldn't sleep. I was on this sofa of this driver, and just very, very nervy, but very proud as well, because I feel like I'm family in a way. I've known him for so long. Yeah, it's just horrible, isn't it? Because I've done Derek's, and Derek's was a lot easier, even though seeing the boys carrying Derek's coffin out. That's what I had to sing. Only You too. That was really hard. When I looked up, I could see Manny's face. I was trying to just look in front of me. But when they lifted Derek's coffin up, that's the band that we toured with Derek's. That was really hard watching them. I wish they hadn't carried it out. It was really sad. Of this Derek's little coffin, and then you just would never think a few years later it'd be Paul's. It's just the kids. The kids. It's not like with Derek. He was older, and we knew he was going a horse. It was such a shock, as you know. And he might as well have stayed on drugs. I'm joking. I am joking. No, but that's what's just really sad. You give everything up. He's so good. He gives everything up. Because he still smoked, but he drank loads. In rehearsals, he used to drink loads of beer. We all did. And have 2 cigs going at the same time. Never thought he'd give up beer. Or whatever he drank. I don't know what he drank, whether it was beer or cider or whatever, but he drank loads. And compulsive about anything. Now it was always Red Bulls, always. And and he'd even drink my shitty ones from Aldi, Red Thunder. Have you got any of them, Ro? Which he didn't really like, but if he didn't have his Red Bulls, he'd drink that. He wouldn't like say, I'll have a can of Coke. No, he'd always he'll have a fake one. But we just all miss him so much, obviously.
How is it different now without him?
Well, obviously, because you're just used to the conversations and the humour it is. It's just, we try and have a laugh. I do this stupid, not I Spy, but it might as well be. Mark's in the front, quiet on the way there, playing his flying planes on the way there, and pissed on the way back, talking nonsense to the driver. It's just there's something missing in the back of our van now, because Dan's not really one of us, and he's in our band, but it's like, oh, do you remember this? It was always the old stories, and especially Gaz and Horse. They had things that happened when they were kids. They'd always talk about things that happened when they were kids all the time, and things that happened early days in the Mondays, and we'd talk about things in the Mondays, and that's just gone, really. We don't talk about early days now anymore. We don't talk about anything the same. We talk about football now, which we wouldn't have talked about probably before, and it's just like being in a different band. that bit, the travelling. That's the bit I hate the most, the travelling.
And what about when you're on stage?
I won't be dancing over that. I'd stay this side really with Mark Day. I'd go over usually once to make that guy feel all right, because I feel tight now, because it must be really awful for him. And he said to me the last time, thank you for that. I think I said, thanks, couldn't do it without you. Couldn't, it must be hard for him. Couldn't do it without you. And just recognise that what he's doing is, it must be really hard. In a way, though, I'm glad it's not the same, because he's irreplaceable. And so if it was somebody trying to be like us, or who knew him, like one of the tributes where they can be quite like the band, this guy who's just like Shaun, if he could play bass and could act like Paul, because he knew Paul, that wouldn't work either. That would be terrible. No. So I don't like anyone being too friendly who's not one of us anyway. So that's it.
Thank you so much.
Oh, no, you're welcome. I've enjoyed it.
It was really good. Really, really good. Just perfect for what we need.
Oh,
really,
thank you.
Really
no, it's a pleasure.
I really, really appreciate you giving us the time as well.
Of course I would. I wish you was here, but...
I know. Well, I'll see you soon, I hope. I'm going to be...
Smile for my picture. Are you smiling? Yay! It's Happy International Women's Day as well.
Oh, right. Happy International
Is it not international over there?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
He's celebrating it. No, I think everyone's celebrating it. You're just a bit behind. We've done it all day now. I'd had enough at 9 o'clock this morning. I was like sick of saying it.
Thank you so much. I'll let you know when I'm coming, and let's have a night out. Definitely. For sure. Yeah. That's all we've got for you this week. We're playing out with the song that Rowetta just mentioned earlier that she did with Paul and his big arm collaborator Pete Smith for the 24-Hour Party People movie. The song is called Party People, and if you listen carefully you can hear some vocals by Paul in there, and you also might recognise some bass lines that we've used very often in this show. We've got some more Q&A Zooms coming up, so if you'd like to join in with one or more, please do join our Patrons Club by going to patreon.com/the Paul Ryder Tapes. We are really, really grateful to our amazing patrons for helping us to bring these episodes to you. We also have a WhatsApp group, so message me via the website if you'd like to be joined up to that WhatsApp group. It's really lively and fun. The website, as you hopefully know by now, is paulryder.tv, and there are also links to our socials. Have a brilliant week. We're going to be back next week with not one but 3 different special guests. One of his best friends from his teenage years, Andy Hardy. We've got Gaz Whelan's brother Jason, as well as Ace Salford Barber Kingo, because Jason and Kingo were at the very first Monday's gig, and they've got some really brilliant stories from those early days, so don't miss that one. Big thanks to the lovely Rowetta, and of course to the man himself, the late great Paul Anthony Ryder. See you next week. Lots of love. Bye.
Party people, party sound. Everybody's gotta get up to get down. I'm looking through some other body's eyes, but I just can't see, just can't see. I'm living out some other body's lies. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Party people, party town. Everybody's gotta get up to get down. Party people, party sounds. Everybody's gotta get up to get down. Party people, party town. Everybody's gotta get up to get down. Party people, party sounds. Everybody's gotta get up to get down. Glistening Productions.